You're still clearing. That's the intro. We're back.
There it is.
Properly this time. In terms of properly, I mean we're in different states again. I'm Will.
I'm Josh. Indeed. So, with Birds of Prey coming up, when is it even coming out? I didn't write that part down.
It's in Feb the 7th, I think. I'm going to find it out, so you keep talking.
All right. So, to kind of celebrate and lead into the Birds of Prey. Okay, the 6th.
Yeah.
6th of Feb. Yep, so to lead into that, we have read two of the, I think you looked them up and you said that they were two of the big stories.
Yeah, which don't feel so big now that we've read them.
They don't really, but I think they're overall helpful to kind of have a bit of a dive into what Birds of Prey could be.
Yep.
Because I don't know who the bad guy is, whether it is some of the characters we come across in this or not. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of Oracle in these as well, but I doubt Oracle's going to be in Birds of Prey because they've been talking about Karen Gillan being Batgirl, who eventually becomes Oracle. So who friggin' knows?
It will be interesting.
It will. But Will is going to kick us off with talking about the story of the 1999 storyline of Like Minds of.
It's issues 56 to 61. I've written these names down. I haven't linked them to what they do. Gail Simone, Ed Benes, and Alex Lee.
Cool. Gail wrote.
Yep.
And Ed Benes drew.
Yep.
I think the last guy inked,
Colours,
which is like colourful,
That's good. It's good that that's always the order of things. I assumed, but I didn't want to assume.
Yeah, Gail is a female, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So
that's cool.
And she happened to write the second one, The Death of Oracle, which is the one I'll be covering a bit later. So she's been on for, she was on at that stage for like 11 years.
First off, just want to say, if you want to read this, it's tricky to find. There are not legal ways to find it, which is unfortunate. But Jade, one of our patrons, mentioned that there's a bit of crazy legalities going on at the moment, but the royalties being renegotiated at the moment, and it might end up being reprinted at some point. So if you want to read it legally, it might happen soon. If you want to read it legally right now, it's like $100. And if you don't want to read it legally, there are avenues, but I won't say them because it's always good to support the comic book industry.
Definitely.
But the characters in this book need a plot, so that's what I'm going to talk about.
There you go.
Well, let's take it from the top. So after a brief run-in with Andrew Fisher, who's like a corrupt businessman who needed a bit of an ass whoop from the Canary, Dinah Lance and Oracle, which is Babs Gordon as Oracle, and Dinah Lance is the Black Canary. I will be interchanging those things often, but as a nerd, you probably are familiar with those titles. The two characters, they chill for a bit, have some late-night noms, they have some seafood, and talk about some like real big ideas about superheroism, which we'll get into later, which is a real interesting thing. But as they're chilling, a message emerges from a seemingly now suicidal Mr. Fisher, which was suddenly dark. And it's not just him that is suicidal, he's also putting his family at ransom, apparently. But nah! The old mate has actually teamed up with a ponytailed savant, which is the bad guy of this arc, and he's teamed up with him in order to capture the Canary, which is just a bit sneaky and a little bit dark. But after a brief fisticuffs with his men, Black Canary, she's knocked out and vocally paralyzed, which is important because that's not great, because apart from her limbs, her voice is kind of her best asset. But her limbs are also pretty lethal.
Yeah, she's like a hectic fighter, man.
She's intense.
This comic has some sick stuff from Black Canary.
And the best bit is it's not all about the legs. She doesn't just like Black Widow them and just jump with the thighs. She actually does more than that, which is, exciting to see from a female hero.
Yes, it's pretty sweet.
And then Savant, he attempts to communicate with Oracle, and he's requesting some rather intense information, which we'll get back to. Oracle then has to turn to the aid of the Huntress, enlisting her to rescue the wounded bird, like Canary Bird, not like I'm degrading her.
Very good.
Just I'm using Birds of Prey. And it turns out Savant tried to be a super, but whilst he was taken down to Arsonist, Batman rescued the entire residency of the burning building, which kind of taught him a lesson in terms of priorities. And even though Savant agreed, he still felt like being a baddie, which is, figures. And for the release of Dinah, the important information, he wants the identity Whoa, has anyone ever said identity like that? Identity?
Identity?
What I actually mean is the identity of the Batman, which also, I guess, figures, because if you can potentially get that information from someone who knows, you might as well, I guess.
Yeah, and everyone also always, consistently throughout this whole series, want to know who Oracle is.
Yes, they do.
Big mystery around Oracle.
Big mystery.
Mystery Fifi.
It's not even late and I'm just dumb. There's also some stuff with Huntress. I think she's like got a plan or something, but it's generally just falls back to, I'm driving my bike, whee! That's kind of what she does for a lot of this. She does some punchies and almost gets a date with a parking attendant, which, you know, good on that fella, I guess.
That whole thing was pretty funny.
That was pretty cute. And while that's happening, Savant tries to get a little frisky with Dinah whilst also trying to get frisky with Oracle because I think he finds her sexy, which was like, I was getting mixed signals. But then Mr. Fisher pops in with an ice cold glass of transmitter. You see, Mr. Fisher has... You see, Mr. Fisher has turned a new leaf. He's going to help the gang from now on intermittently, and he's also going to check on his family because they're like down in the basement. They weren't actually somewhere secure. What am I? Securo? That's not how you say the word secure.
Shadows do die twice, though, Will.
They do. So yeah, Mr. Fisher is on the side of the good. He was only a corrupt businessman because Savant was like kind of holding him hostage with some blackmailing information, which we will also get back to.
Yes.
Dinah has been like getting herself out of handcuffs by using her blood as lubricant, which is wild.
And then like dislocating her thumbs or something. And she's like, yeah, I've got to lubricate my thumb because otherwise doing this could tear my thumb off.
Yeah.
Like, holy
she's interesting.
She's nuts.
But Savant is even more... No, he's not even nuts. He just gets scared when she distracts them by saying, I need some feminine products. And they're like, ladies!
Yeah, that whole thing was so strange.
It felt like the Marvel moment. Like, I could picture that in a Marvel film.
Yeah, for sure.
But he bobs off, which allows Canary to get the little transmitter that was in her cold glass and has a little chat to Oracle because she finds out that Huntress is on her way, which is great. And then she finally manages to pry herself out before she faces her greatest enemy, stairs. Which was unexpected, but thankfully Huntress has her indoor riding permit because she blasts in with her twin-wheeled, zero-horn, nitrous-burning purple people eater, and also, luckily for Dinah, the banisters work wonders on the thighs, and she slides down for like a quick escape before we, realize that Savant can use the stairs, so he just walks down after her.
Very true. You wrote that so well. I'm impressed.
I went for it. I went for some writing.
That was very good.
It's been a while. Meanwhile, Oracle discovers Savant has lived in Greece, which I would have thought was obvious given his incredibly pale skin and blonde hair. Also, that he failed literally everything he's ever tried to do, and then she bullies the ponytail fella with the information, which Barb's is a little intense in this. She's a bit of a bully sometimes in both stories.
They all are. They're so rough. It's ridiculous.
Dinah is like, it's not great. And then she does it anyway. It's like she flip-flops. She's like, you shouldn't be so mean, Barbara. And then she just kicks someone in the face. So it's like, I don't know where you stand on that.
It's so intense. She's so rough, man.
It's odd. But along with bullying, she then sends out her Sriska Nightcrawler to delete all of the Savant's files and all the blackmail he had on businessmen across Gotham and the world. It's all gone. And after a quick brawl, Huntress and Fisher take down Savant's goon, and Savant himself finds himself cuffed. And whilst there was a backup of the blackmail, Dinah tells Oracle, who wishes to use it against the people it's wronged. Again, she's a bit intense, that she should think better and be like her father, the great Commissioner Gordon. What a lovely ending. Nah, Oracle just grabs the backups through like a sneaky back end, I guess.
Yeah, because she seems to have like deleted it, but also backed it up at the same time.
It's like that bit in Far From Home where the USB comes out and it's like, something's up.
Yeah, very true.
Savant then goes to Arkham and he's not a big fan. Of course he's not. He's a man. Huntress in Canary garb has a brief chat with one of the many high-ranking businessmen listed on Savant's files, Senator Bob. I love it. Senator Bob is the best name in all of these, all the comics we've read, ever. Senator Bob.
It's like the least creative.
Yeah, it's like you start out with
Love it.
Senator, which is like it's a high thing, and then you're like, Bob.
Yeah, not Robert.
No,
Bob.
fair enough. I think he makes up for it with the moustache. It's so good.
Oh, what a moustache.
What a moustache. And whilst he doesn't believe the news of the deleted files, fair enough, he's, ahead of the game in terms of everyone. Huntress completes her job, and Canary is quite the fan. She suggests enlisting her into their nest. Babs is not quite on board. I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. Hunty got a little cheeky with her Dick, Nightcrawler, Robin, Dick, and Bab liked Dick, so she doesn't like Hunty. So she also doesn't like Dinah, apparently. After offering her job in the tower behind a computer, she refuses. Barb then kicks Dinah off the team for good, mainly because continual lapse in Oracle's judgment have led to Dinah's harm. And I say that she's kicked off the team for good, but we know it's not. It's not going to happen, right?
It's not.
Literally, if she kicks her off the team for good, no one's on the team. There's no team.
Yeah, it's basically just them at this stage.
Yeah. I mean, Oracle can just chat to Batman, I guess. He can be a bird.
He could, yeah. A bat's birds?
That's a good question.
Oh my goodness.
We'll find that out. Next podcast, are bats birds?
That'll be it.
And the podcast after that, are birds bats?
Yep, I'm down.
But while that's happening, Savant is apparently going to give the location of Oracle to a corrupt jail guard. I don't know how he knows that. He doesn't, I guess. And the jail guard is working for Senator Biddy Bob. I tried to make it more interesting, but it is just Senator Bob. He's just working for Bob.
Senator Biddy Bob.
Bibbidi Bob Bobbidi. And then Savant just escapes, and he's like, I hope you got a Tesla, mate. I hope your car's cool. Random. And I do love that a villain is in Arkham. It just happens every DC thing. They're in Arkham, the highest security facility. Oh, and they're out again. They're just gone. They just leave. We don't see. He hits a guy and he's out.
And that whole thing was weird. They're like, oh, you're not going to be able to talk to anyone because there's no one else down there except for the guard that we've posted you with, but he's completely deaf, so you might as well not talk to him. And then as soon as they get down there, he's just like, you're not deaf, are you? And then the guard's like, you're smart. And then they start fighting. Like, what the hell?
No, because you can talk to deaf people. They've got sign language and everything. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not like he can't communicate back.
And he can also, his power is that he remembers everything.
Yeah.
So surely he's probably learnt sign language and therefore can communicate with deaf people.
You'd think so.
Plus, deaf people can often read lips as well.
Yeah.
If they've been deaf for like a really, really long time.
Yeah, but he wanted a Tesla, so...
That's it. Got to get those Teslas.
Whilst that's happening, it's really weird because he's the villain of the first half and then he's just kind of here for these two issues, which is interesting. But... while that's happening, Barbara goes and has some inspirational pasta. Huntress gets in a chase with Senator Bob's goons, but the help of Dinah's bare computer skills and newly found vocal register, she escapes. Babs, now full of pasta and love, allows Dinah back on the team, but not before Savant can call past and give his own linguini love. Sadly for him, Babs only got cold tortellini for him. She's like, I'm coming to get you with my tortellini.
What is this writing? Where has it gone?
I left out the bit, but Barbara goes to a place where there's a kid that's got some learning difficulties.
That's right.
And the mum gives some lovely speech, and she's like, pasta.
That's the inspirational pasta.
Yeah, she's like, here's the inspirational pasta. Get it in your gob. But that's the story. It's really interesting, and Lucas brings it up, one of our patrons, and I thought it the same. It feels like a story that's transferable to film.
Yes.
It feels like there's a strong arc in there, really well-written versions of the characters as well, and great humor that I could definitely see, just push straight over to a movie.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Especially if DC keep going the route of these things exist, we're not explaining too much. I think it'd be a good introduction to the idea of Birds of Prey without starting from scratch.
Yeah, definitely.
How'd you feel?
Good. Some of what you explained now makes more sense. I don't think I picked up on it. I basically read these in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, same.
Both of these, which is 12 issues or something, so I was very much skimming just to try and get through them.
Yeah, we put the call out to our patrons over on Discord. If you want to join it, go on to patreon.com/each-of-their-own. It was while you were still here, which is, while ago, almost a month ago, and we read the comics today. We love you so much, our patrons. You're better than us.
You're so much better than us. But yes, no, this was a good story, and it makes me want to read the rest as well. Like before and after, it was really cool because this isn't a spoiler because it's basically the start of my series that I'm going to explain. Savant and one of his goon buddies from your issue, Creote or whatever, they're good now.
Yeah. After 10 years.
Yeah, and working with Oracle. So I'm like, how the hell did that happen? So I'm so intrigued.
Let's see that progress.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to reading it. I want to.
You haven't read your own. You've bought millions of comics.
Oh my goodness. Like literal thousands, and I haven't read them. It's dumb.
The opening of this is so visceral. I feel like it's really good, and the whole thing is great, but I feel like the arc never lives up to how it starts, because it's so intense and interesting, and it's visually really startling and interesting too, and then the way they just twist the tone that feels real intense and dark to this banter between Dinah and Oracle. It's real fun and light and fluffy, but it has this undercurrent of darkness, and I wholly see where Arrow got Felicity and Oliver from now. Like, their dynamic at the start of this is season 1 of Arrow.
Yeah, totally.
Actually, I do remember, because I feel like there was big theories that Felicity would be paralyzed at some point, because they were like, oh, well, there's basically Oracle, so at some point she's going to be in a wheelchair. So I guess it was around then, but it's crazy how direct it is, that it is just, she's just Oracle.
Yeah.
And that bit that I was talking about, the big crazy question is do you ever wonder if their right to privacy outweighs our right to know? Which is so cool. Such a hard-hitting, as Lucas put it, hitting the hard themes, right to right to privacy. And Jade also mentioned that they love the superhero moral quandary, because, well, aren't the superheroes here basically vigilantes and therefore breaking the law? So what we're actually asking is, does one crime outweigh another? Which is really interesting.
Yeah. And that seems to be something that I think Canary is constantly fighting with. Because she sort of talks about that. Like, she's like, you get a bit of their inner monologue as, like, in both of these series. And they're constantly kind of going, like, I don't know what side I'm on here. Like, these guys are bad, but am I good in trying to stop them, or am I just the same as them? It
feels like something that, as much as I love Marvel could never quite do. There's definitely spots for it, and certainly characters that could take it, but as a universe, it feels like a very DC-centric thing, because all of their characters, despite some of the characters in your comic that you'll talk through, everything feels really grounded in their universe and a bit darker and a bit more questionable. Whereas a lot of Marvel, until you get arcs like Civil War and Secret Wars, nothing's really that bad unless you're a villain.
Yeah.
These moral quandaries are probably the reason why I'm slowly pulling to DC to want to read these comics and absorb a lot more of their content, just because there's a little bit more depth than I think Marvel sometimes allows.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Lucas said this in his notes. He said he doesn't know if he's ever read a DC comic in full. He's like skimmed Batman and stuff, but hasn't had a full read. I'm almost feeling similar here. I think I've read like The Death of Superman and some of A World Without Superman. Maybe one of the New 52 Batman like collected issues. And Watchmen. But like that's it. I think
the big stories, but not like the
very
individual
sparsely.
arcs and characters.
Yeah, very sparse and kind of few and far in between. Comparatively to Marvel, anyway. I think the movies being good have definitely spurred you and I to lean way more towards Marvel in reading the comics and all of that, and obviously your figures,
the money. It's basically the physical embodiment of any money I earn. Yeah.
That's it. Whereas like the DC movies haven't been great, so we haven't been as drawn to the DC stories.
Yeah, it's exciting that we're moving into an era with films like Shazam, Joker, Birds of Prey, hopefully, and assumedly Wonder Woman 1984. It seems... I mean, the word is not brighter, because it's definitely darker, but the future looks positive.
Yes.
So it's exciting that it seems we're on the cusp of DC finally getting their dues in a good way.
Yes. Just having a quick look through some of Lucas's stuff as well. Just in general, looking at this, he's saying this is super feminist, which is pretty cool. So being written by being written by a woman, you'd kind of assume so, but also there's a lot of butts and boobs and stuff in this. It's very it's very scantily cladly drawn.
It certainly is, to the point where one of the people actually say, "Aren't you just a picture of feminine sexual iconography?" And Lucas says, "Isn't that just a little meta?" The fact the character says that in this comic, which is just full of butts.
Yeah, pretty much. There's some pretty intense stuff in that one too. I think it's that series, because there's like someone basically saying, "Man, that outfit would turn a guy on if it was on a goat, so aren't you kind of pointless?" Yeah. It's like, whoa, that's nuts.
And not to just continually say this, I feel like a lot of DC comics are like beyond their time a little bit, especially in these kinds of themes.
That's like, very true, yeah, because this is late 90s.
Late 90s, yeah. Crazy thing. And it maybe it is just that they allowed a female to write the comic. You know? It is something that helps, as we can see with Wonder Woman. It's great. And I think Birds of Prey as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome too. Yeah, one of the lines I liked in this was I think Black Canary was talking to the Huntress, because the Huntress is wearing quite a interesting outfit where most of her torso is exposed, and Black Canary's like, "Yeah, so like, what's up with that outfit? Like, there's so much of you." And she's like, "I do 700 sit-ups a day," and Black Canary's like, "Say no more." So it's them just like admiring each other and being like, "Yeah, you look damn good," and like, fair enough, you want to show that off.
Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
There's another line that I liked from the Huntress, which comes out of the back of Savant talking about Batman. He says, "But I don't much like the way he talked to me, not like an equal at all." And then you cut to the Huntress talking to the parking attendant saying, "Talk to me like I'm as dumb as you are." Like, Savant's like, he didn't talk to me like an equal. And Huntress is like, "You're a dumb idiot."
Yeah.
That's great.
It's great.
It's great. I love the Huntress. I'm very intrigued to see, and I'm pretty sure it's your girl from Scott Pilgrim playing her as well.
Very good.
Which I think is, from reading this, perfect casting.
It makes a lot of sense, especially just because of how she is in Scott Pilgrim. She's so
distant, and
she's so just like that, and just kind of like very direct and
she's playing Huntress, which is very exciting.
Awesome. What's her name again?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
That's the one, Winstead. Cool.
Yeah. Which is exciting. Good casting. But yes, there's some great humour in this, great banter between all the Birds of Prey, which carries over to your one as well. Just going through a couple of other things. Jade mentions, why are all the villains mentally ill? Can't they just be really selfish jerks? Because it gives them character. But it is true, a lot of DC villains are just like a bit weird in the head.
They are. And just on that as well, I just want to say something about Savant, because he's got a really interesting like power where he remembers everything, but he has no concept of time. Yep. So he says that he met someone yesterday, and then someone else is like, "No, that happened like months or years ago." Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, did it? I don't know." So he doesn't remember when things happen, but he remembers everything. Yeah. It's like such a weird sort of thing to have, so that messes him up a lot. Yeah. I think they get to play with him a lot with that, and they kind of go, "Oh yeah, you already told us this information," and he was like, "Oh, I did, so that means you know about this thing." And they're like, "Yep, thank you for that information, because you hadn't told us." That was great. It's kind of like they're kind of playing with someone who has mental illness, which is a little bit, and she says, "I feel bad for this." Yeah. Cool. I think that's about it. There's some great comments. Thank you for those, but we'll be coming back to you shortly as well. We will, because we're moving on to the Birds of Prey 2010 series, issue 7 to 13, The Death of Oracle. It's in the name, really, isn't it? It is. Again, written by Gail Simone and drawn by Adrian Syaf. That sounds like a DC villain. Yeah, it does. And I didn't write who inked it, so I apologize. Probably a pen. Inking man. Or lady. Yeah. Cool. So, basically, we start off with Oracle taking on a bunch of drugged up punks in an alleyway for some reason.
In her chair.
She seems to basically be able to hold her own, which is pretty badass, until one point where they kind of overwhelm her a little bit. And then Batman comes in, saves her, and then they hang out for a bit and have a chat. But then we see the Birds of Prey, which includes Huntress and Black Canary, as we have already met in the previous series, as well as two new ones, Dove and Lady Blackhawk.
Yeah, Dove.
Dove's so badass. I hadn't heard of her before.
You've seen her in Titans.
Have I?
Yeah, Dove and Hank. Hank and Dawn.
Of course.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, right. Okay, gotcha. So for whatever reason, they're at a male strip club. Oh, they're there for Dove's birthday?
Which might
something?
not actually be her birthday, as we continue.
It's so strange.
Comic.
Yeah, but she gets pretty drunk, which is pretty funny, and then she passes out. But things go real bad because they end up getting in this super long fight. And they get kidnapped by Bolt and some muscly guys. Yeah, and a bunch of goons that look a lot like AIM from Marvel.
Yeah, and a bit Deadpool.
A little bit Deadpool, yeah, in the mask.
Yeah.
Super weird. This was ordered. This sort of takedown was ordered by a dude called the Calculator, who was a manipulator and strategist. He's almost like an evil Oracle.
Yeah.
They keep sort of saying like, yeah, he's basically the anti-Oracle. Also, I'm just going to say this up top. Will and I were talking about this series before, and who the hell knows what is happening here? I've tried my best, especially having read basically this whole thing in a couple of hours, trying to skim through it as fast as possible. I tried to understand what's happening and get all the points down, but we'll see how that goes and see if this makes any sense to anyone.
So to quickly jump in, just remembered another Felicity-related thing.
Yes.
In the Arrow series, her dad is the Calculator. So they just flat out went with that. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Holy crap.
And he was called the Calculator. How cool's that? They just went with that. And
goodness.
That's cool.
That's sick. Yeah, I totally forgot that. Oh, man. Yeah, so they basically get kidnapped, and we see that the Calculator, when he gets told that they kind of like... they've been kidnapped or whatever. We find out that he has a virus put in his head, probably from previous issues. We don't see it happen. But this is after Oracle accessed his mind like a computer to delete the knowledge that he has of her identity. And he ends up basically getting this virus, and it's totally messing with him because he has these huge like migraines and headaches and stuff. So he's out to kill her, find out who she is and kill her. To try and stop these headaches, and just because he's a bad dude in general. With these bad guys as well is a girl called Mortis. There's a lot of just random characters that pop in and out of these things. She has powers where if she touches you, she'll make you constantly constantly experience all of your deepest regrets at once.
She's so cool.
Consistently driving people to madness until they basically eventually kill themselves to stop it.
Yeah.
She's very intense, but doesn't do a whole lot in this.
It's her power is basically that one bit from Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yes. Scarlet Witch's thing, yeah, where she just makes you like feel real sad, but this is all the stuff that you've
ever done bad.
You've actually done bad. You experience it basically all at once.
And not just things that you've done, but things people have done to you, which is even creepier.
It's like, it's so intense. It's basically like all of your hurt just comes back at once. So within the fight that happens before the rest of them get kidnapped, Mortis touches Black Canary, which messes her up real freaking bad. And Batman takes her away to try and figure out how to help her, but basically has no luck. Takes her back to Oracle. Oracle tries to help. Hawk turns up. And then he gets real mad and is like, we have to do something. That's
kind of his shtick, Hawk.
Pretty much.
He's always a bit grumpy.
Yeah, he's a weird dude in this. So yeah, the start of one of the issues, we basically see her talking to her deceased mother, who's like, you shouldn't be doing this, and you stole my thing, and I was like, my costume, and I was really disappointed. And her father's like, man, you're looking kind of big, aren't you? Kind of like being real rude, and then like just reminding her of how disappointed they are with her. And then there's like people that have died or that were harmed in some way because she didn't help them or something like that, wasn't able to help them. I guess all of that probably makes a lot more sense if you have a good backstory of who Black Canary actually is. And then you've got a bit of Green Arrow talking about their divorce and how he's just basically like, well, as long as you're like upset about it as well, I guess that's all that matters. It's like, it's such a weird thing.
I mean, and it's the most like Oliver season 1.
It is,
just a broody, grumpy dude.
It is. It's so good. Meanwhile, while this is all happening and she's like freaking out inside her own head, the kidnapped girls are being total badasses, just pissing off the bad guys, as they seem to be doing all the time, trying to make them insecure and getting under their skin, like making them mad, and then also going, man, I hope this is actually the right thing to be doing, in their inner monologue, because man, they really could have just got shot in the head very quickly. Like, there's not much stopping these dudes from just killing them straight away. Mortis, who is with all the evil bad guys and the kidnapped Black Canary, starts like convulsing on the ground and freaking out because she still has access to the Black Canary's mind, who is still freaking out in her own head. And she tries to mess her up more by kind of going, oh, remember when you did this? And look at all this stuff, bad stuff you've done. Your friends are like long gone. They won't help you. The Black Canary is like too smart and too confident in her friends for that, and is just like, no, they're good. Like, they're gonna come for me and help me out. So she mentally fights Mortis back, and that's when Mortis is almost mentally destroyed in her own body through that, which is pretty intense. While this starts happening, the girls start fighting back. They get some good hits in, and that's when Oracle, well, they say it's Oracle in an armed helicopter. They're like, oh, holy crap, that's Oracle. Armed helicopter starts like shooting up these guys, which is crazy. The Calculator and Bolt hide behind a truck, and the Calculator, being the Calculator, he knows, seems to be able to work out what to do, tells Bolt to strike the helicopter with half of his electric power. So Bolt is like Electro, but I think Bolt has like fabricated powers. So he actually has equipment that makes him do that, almost like Shocker or something. Yeah. So Bolt fires at like half the capacity of his powers at the helicopter, and the helicopter just explodes. It absolutely...
It's gone.
It's done. Like, it's freaking gone. Anyone in it is also gone. And then the Calculator's headache just instantly disappears. He immediately feels fine. So he's like, there you go, Oracle was in that. They said he was, or she, because people don't know whether it's a he or she, apparently, in this. I did make that mistake in saying he, but they actually don't know what gender the Oracle is. They start freaking out. The birds of prey freak out, run towards the Calculator, and manage to just scratch his face before the goons restrain them. The Calculator starts kind of freaking out and whining about the scratch on his face. He's like, oh, that hurts so much. Like, why didn't you guys restrain them before? Like, you guys are useless. And all of his whining makes his goons and everyone working for him kind of lose their respect and their faith in him. So he then tries to overcompensate by being like, oh, I'll take them out. Well, he says for the goons to shoot them, and then the birds of prey are like, why don't you do it yourself? Because you're so quick to just do that. And then all the goons are like, hey, yeah, like, you do it. So then he ends up doing it, and then being ridiculously proud of himself for doing it. He's like I said, he's freaking overcompensating so much. It's bizarre. Whilst this is all happening, another skirmish breaks out when Hawk turns up. Because he did say he was going to help out. But during that skirmish, the Calculator runs for his van with Bolt. It sounds so weird saying the Calculator. It's not a villain name. It's so weird. With Bolt, they run to the van. Mortis begs them not to leave her alone, and he's just like, well, someone has to be basically hit and beat up, which is like so rough. It's like, what a freaking dick. And then we don't hear from her again.
No.
I just realized. I don't even have that written down. I just realized she never comes up again. Whatever. I'm sure she probably comes back at some stage, and there's probably an explanation as to what happens.
Yeah, she seems to be in very few issues, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see whether where else she pops up, because she's got a crazy power.
Yeah.
The birds of prey managed to catch up to the van, and they managed to capture the calculator and Bolt. And that's pretty much it for that section. We then come back. We start seeing a bunch of random heroes from around the world. Like we get Booster Gold, Batgirl at one stage, I think, and Blue Beetle, all on their comms asking Oracle for help, but they're all over the world. But she's dead, right?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Hawk
was in the helicopter. In place of Oracle, which there's a little bit of a flashback to explain that, and somehow survived.
He's like, I'm real strong. I'll be fine, mate. I'll be good. Don't worry about me. I'm Hawk. I'm strong. I'm Hawk.
Bizarre. Maybe it's like a Nick Fury in Avengers 1 kind of thing, where he like jumps out just as it gets destroyed.
Sure.
And that's how we got to the birds. He basically flew to them, used the gun, and then jumped out or something, survived the massive helicopter blast. And then this is the part where I am sort of confused about what she's actually... because she's discussing like her plans going forward with Dick Grayson Batman, Bruce Wayne Batman, Batgirl, Red Robin, and someone called Misfit, who I have not heard of before. Now, what I think she's trying to say is she's become too public. People know her too well, or know of her, and so they keep going for her. But she's the one that helps everybody, so if she dies, then no one has help. So she seems to be trying to hide herself again by faking her own death, making people believe that, but only very few people know that she's still alive.
Yeah.
And so she's going to continue helping heroes, but very infrequently not letting them know that she's Oracle, because later she starts talking to people through like voice changes and stuff like that. So that's the section where it's kind of a bit unclear to me,
especially to have all the alternate bats, like to not make that more of a thing. Like, you guys help, and I'll help through you, or something.
Yeah,
like more direct than just I'll be around, but I won't be around. I'll be kind of around, and you're just all kind of here.
Yeah, it's a very strange way to go about it. I don't really understand what is happening. I read that part so many times, especially writing my notes. I'm like, nope, no idea.
I wonder if reading more would help. I don't know if it would, but it feels very much like that's the end of the film moment where it's like, this is what we're doing going forward. This is the end of Avengers, where it's like, okay, this is what happens from here on out.
Yeah.
And if this was a movie, I'd be like, don't know what's happening from here on out.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but then that's not the end of the series of comics that you at least prescribed for everybody.
Yeah.
There's not much more to it, I guess. They're just taking on a few more bad guys, and a bunch of other heroes are like, oh, sorry to hear that your friend the Oracle has died, and everyone's like, it's fine. But the Oracle is alive and she's still helping, and
it's like nothing has changed.
Yeah.
For us, the reader, nothing has changed.
Yeah, I'd be interested to like know whether other comics around that time were affected by this, kind of like how one massive thing happens in one Marvel comic and that actually is affected or referenced in all the others. I assume it would. I assume it's because we haven't been that into DC Comics and like reading multiple different series at once. We're unaware of exactly how they work, but I assume it would be very similar to Marvel. Yeah. For whatever reason, the Penguin was in it for like a couple of pages. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, the Hawk went and chatted to him, and he wanted to be off radar to chat to him. Maybe, again, something that comes back later. I will say that or in a different comic, yeah. Yeah, I wonder, I do feel like that is one of the best looking penguins. It's so strange to look at, and I love it. Yeah, and that was actually something that Lucas mentioned as well. He was like, I love that design. He like freaks out that Penguin is in it. So good luck, Colin Farrell. I don't know if you can get in that shape. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Yeah. More... this is less sexualized, I think. Yeah. There's little bits of the birds being a little bit flirty. Yeah. But a lot less than the 1999 issues. So it's getting a little bit more woke as time goes on.
If anything, I think Mortis is the sexiest thing in these comics.
Yes.
Fine. It's a very intriguing and flirtatious... No, what's the word? A seductive villain. So it is cool.
Yeah, because when we meet her, she basically does that to some dude.
Yeah.
She almost seducts him and then touches him, and then he just freaks out and probably dies.
Yeah.
Mental. How did you feel about it? Any other thoughts from you, William?
As we keep saying, what a confusing bunch of things.
It's so weird.
It's a very strange thing. I just wanted to briefly say the extra 2 issues as a character that are introduced to us in the comic, but assumedly is in a lot of things. The Question, which is like, it's Rorschach, right? And like a few panels before we see her, there's a Rorschach image, so it was on the mind.
Yeah.
Serious Rorschach vibes.
I did sort of get that Rorschach vibe because she has no face.
Yeah.
Like it's like a mask that just has no features.
And then she's got the hat and the
much
trench
like
coat.
Rorschach. Yeah, she pretty much is. I would not be surprised if that was very much inspired by the Rorschach character. But a female version just to make it the birds. That's it.
And also the fact that technically Hank makes sense in the Birds of Prey because he is a bird. I think, like, my mind has always considered the Birds of Prey a female team, but him being a part of it makes sense. It works. Yeah,
that's a thing as well. I was sort of like, when I was writing out the names of all the people in it, I'm like, Huntress Dove, Lady Blackhawk, Black Canary, and Hawk?
Yeah.
Like, wait a second.
Hang on, he's a bird.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally just thought this was Birds of Prey as well, like females, birds. It's like a bit of a play on that. But, yeah.
It gets
super weird.
It gets on in. And also, just in terms of the art, which I think Jade or Lucas mentioned as well, issue 10 is some of the worst art I've seen in a comic. It's real just gloopy, I think, is the only word I can think of. Nothing really is sharp and, like, has harsh shadows. Everything... It's almost like there's a... when they translate a animated Spider-Man thing into a comic book and they just kind of block colours out. There's just something not great in issue 10.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff.
Yeah, comparatively to a lot of the other issues, it just feels a little bit not great.
Yeah.
Just from like page 2, there's a real close-up shot of Huntress, and I have no idea what anything's doing.
What is happening with her torso?
Yeah, it's so
and there's
folded.
and there's like no texture on her shirt.
No, and there never is.
It's like paint.
Like if you even on Sparkles, it's just everyone's very nothing.
Wait. Go down a few more pages to where the calculator pulls the gun out of the goon's hands.
Yeah.
That looks like his butt.
Yeah.
It's like his butt is on his crotch. But that's his chest.
Yep.
It's his chest, and then it goes down to basically a butt crack.
There's some bad art.
I did not notice how bad. I think I noticed like one of the things in this at some stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is weird.
Yeah.
Who did the things on this?
They must have switched artists for one issue.
There is a different artist and I think a different colorist.
Yeah, wow.
Just reading some of Jade's notes. She says, Batman hugs and strippers, what an opening. That's right, because Batman turns up and he's like, I want a hug.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
But it's the most Batman hug where he's like, can I hug? Is that, I thought it would be okay.
Yeah. It's so good. Best quote so far, from Penguin, 2010. Yeah, Dove does go to a stripper bar in her superhero costume. She does reference that too. She's like, hopefully people just think that this is just like a weird cosplay or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't mentioned, Hawk and Dove, they're together, right?
Yeah.
They're the two, yeah. So they're like dating or married or whatever. They yell their names and their clothes change into their costumes. So yeah, they're like, Dove! And then she turns in, she has like her full blue costume. But then at one stage she like gets really hurt and then she changes back. But she doesn't have powers when she changes back.
Yeah.
So then she's actually dying.
Yeah.
Which is that second issue. The second issue, the last issue, which has some like a pretty intense villain.
Yeah.
Like there's some intense fights. It's like some weird, messed up monster lady with with a sack on her head. Oracle, aka Batgirl, wears Batman pajamas and bunny slippers.
Yeah, there's a panel in that feels a little bit unnecessary.
Yes.
was
Where
like,
she's taking
whoa.
her shirt off.
Yeah,
Why? Whatever.
we've had her in VO for most of the time. We didn't need a cut back.
Is a dude called Catman?
There is.
That's very bizarre. What a random thing. He's like originally bad, but then good, but then ends up being bad, and it's like this triple bluff thing that happens.
And there's one panel in his issue where he is a giant. It's like him, like with his body up, and Huntress is like feeling his scars and stuff, and he is huge.
That's right. She's
massive.
bandaging him, right?
And he's just a giant. Like, he looks like Andre.
Yes, yeah. Can I also say, that's such a weird thing in that shot, because she's like, oh man, and he's like, what, is the wound that bad? She was like, no, you've been like punctured in the kidney or like the colon or something,
Yeah.
and so that really smells. Like, he basically was
himself.
stabbed in his poo organ, and she can smell it through the wound. And they're talking about that in the comic. It's so like, what? Ooh. Lucas said Mortis would be a hella dope villain for Harley to face. Yeah, imagine making her relive all of her abuse from Mr. J.
Oh, yeah. If you are watching the animated Harley show, there is something very similar to that.
Oh, yeah. Lucas just wanted to point out a line saying, congratulations, you just pissed off Superman, which is such a good line.
Yeah.
So that comes in where the calculator first blows up the helicopter, and the birds of prey are just like, you know, if you just killed Oracle, which is the person that means the most to pretty much every superhero in the world, including the Justice League. So yeah, you just pissed off Superman. Like, oh man, what a freaking line. It's so good. And his final thoughts are, it's not as good as Of Like Minds, but it was still pretty good. Not sure if he'd recommend it, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
The of Like Minds was definitely way more interesting and action-packed.
I was excited when the Death of Oracle opened with Savant, because I was like, cool, this might work as a companion piece to the other one, but he kind of disappears, and assumedly that's because he's a thing. If you've read the other issues, it's like, it's not a big thing, he's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, it is cool to read where he's a baddie, disappears, and then he comes back in this one with someone requesting the location of Oracle. So it feels a little bit tied.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Is that the end? We done?
I think so.
I think we're pretty much there. We have a couple of questions from Jade before we finish up. She said, please answer the following! ! All right, calm down.
I feel like I'm at work.
What characters absolutely have to be in the upcoming movie, in your humble opinions? Mortis.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I want Mortis in there.
I'd love Huntress. Huntress is really, really good in this.
Yes. And we've said she is, right?
Yeah, she's definitely in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. But super interesting. I feel like Arrow kind of did her well. Like, she was pretty kooky, and
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about her.
she was definitely rough towards him,
Yeah.
which was interesting. But I feel like this is a lot more fun than they played her.
Yeah, yeah. She was kind of, yeah, like you said, she was a bit of a weird character in the TV series. But yes,
But yeah, Mortis.
yeah, Mortis for sure. She'd be a great villain for that. Anyone else? I don't know. Like, I would love Oracle to be in it, but
Yeah, but clearly that's not where we're headed.
as I said, yeah, that's not going to happen straight up. Maybe later, maybe there'll be like references to something happening, but we still need we need a Batgirl, and we need her to be paralyzed and then become the Oracle.
Yeah. In the comics, Oracle, as we can kind of read from this, is the one that brings them together, whereas this film is clearly putting possibly Harley as that position, so it's very unlikely to throw Oracle in the mix anytime soon.
Yes. And second question, you say your name and the superhero costume appears. Describe your costume, including the fashionable cutouts.
Oh, amazing.
My costume is basically just jeans, all-stars, and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And a jacket because it's cold.
Yeah.
Or I'm always afraid that it will be cold or not. Where are my cutouts? Okay, a lot of my jeans have a hole worn where my phone goes.
Yeah.
So sometimes in jeans, like, there are fabricated holes and things like that. Mine aren't. Mine is actually from my phone. So I got ones there and in my knees where I've fallen off skateboarding.
Yeah.
Sometimes I patch them up, sometimes I don't. Depends how much blood is on the jeans and whether I want them to be there. That's just basically my fashion.
Yeah.
And maybe just for something dumb, and I think this is actually from a Rhett and Link sketch, a cutout around my belly button.
Ah, yes.
Just for like virtually no reason. And I'd go for that.
That's pretty good.
Yep. How about you, Will?
I feel that we're very similar, which would be good if we're like a team, because it would be jeans. The jeans would definitely be there.
Yes.
I think I'm a more button-up man, so I'd be in a button-up. But the most important thing about it is that it would be all wet, just incredibly damp.
Yes, especially under your arms.
Yeah. So as soon as I appear, suddenly I'm drenched.
Yes.
And also my cutouts would be around my nipples because they're always hard. So I just make it as obvious as possible, because then it's not like your nipples are showing through your shirt. It's like there's holes where they are.
That's great. So it's your nipples and my belly button showing.
Yeah. So we've got
We are the most confusing superheroes ever. I love it.
And we're just wearing jeans.
It's jeans.
I love it. I don't think that's at all what Jade expected.
No, but I also, for whatever reason, my jeans have like blood on them.
Yeah.
So I'm like already looking injured when I turn up.
The best bit is we're superheroes. You've got blood on your jeans, but they're not even someone else's blood. It's your own.
Yeah, it's my own.
You've rocked up. Batman's like, we need help, and then you just turn up and you've got bleeding knees, and he's like, what happened?
Yeah.
You're like, I fell off a skateboard on the way here.
That's it. That sounds like me. Oh, I love it.
And he's like, why are you so damp? And I'm like, I walked.
I put clothes on today.
Yeah, I breathed.
Oh, I love it.
Amazing.
There you go. So first podcast of the year, really.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we did have the 2019 in review.
Which was the first podcast that we've recorded, the first piece of content. It was on the first.
That was since, what was the one before? October, we said?
August.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That's been a while.
We'll try not to do that this year.
No, let's try and keep on top. There's a lot of...
Oh, I meant we'll just not do one from now, and then it'll just be
Okay.
from January.
Yeah, fair. Let's just not do any more podcasts for the year. Sounds excellent. Very good. But seriously, there's a lot happening this year. We're trying to manage our time. I literally have scheduled my post-work nights.
Yeah.
Like everything that I want to do every night. So there's like videos for Edo. I do have another channel now with a dude from work, a game artist, where we play games and talk about life and stuff like that, and sort of look at the games from our different disciplines. That's called the Stream Tapes, so go check that out, give it a sub and a like and all the things, but especially keep an eye out on our Edo content for the year. We have a bunch of interesting plans that hopefully go ahead, and hopefully we can work out how to actually do these things.
It'll be very exciting. I'm waiting for my life to kind of start again before I know what time I have. But yes, there's some very exciting things cooking in the oven.
They're cooking in the oven.
They're cooking in the oven. And if you're enjoying this content wherever you're watching it, just let your friends know. Bring them over. Let's make this family bigger. Let's make it, Nutty Professor, how there's like many characters played by Eddie Murphy. Let's make some more characters that aren't just Eddie Murphy. I feel like we've ended up having a family of just Eddie Murphy, and we want to expand it. We want to bring it out a bit more. So bring your friends.
That's a very interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be great. We have an amazing family over on the Discord.
Yep.
And also online, when we post things, we have a few different people who aren't on the Patreon and the Discord commenting in there pretty regularly whenever we do post things, which again hasn't been much. But it's cool to see people having conversations and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's grow it up.
Yeah. Let's make
Grow
this
it
fam.
upwards.
Make this fam good,
Yes.
big and strong.
It'd be so good. It'd be so good to meet even more of you at PAX this year, hopefully as well.
Yep.
So the more the merrier. Let's get so many of you onto this and part of this. That will probably motivate us as well.
Yeah.
To keep doing stuff if we build up more and more and more and more and more of a community. That would be so cool. Yeah. It'd be so cool. Yeah.
But until the next thing we do, I have been Will, or the Doctor of Who.
And I have been Josh, or Sheep. I don't know what I'm going by anymore.
Yeah, look, I think I might just end up with Will. Although Doctor Who's been really good this year, so maybe we're good. Maybe we're good with Doctor of Who.
Well, there you go. He's coming back. See you later, guys.
See ya in the next one. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Good friends, goodbye.
I'll sync that later.
Sweet.